It's the largest single engine airplane in production. It's got a 1,600 horsepower PT6 engine. Max gross weight 16,000 pounds. Makes a lot of racket, vibrates a lot. It's a pretty amazing machine.
I'm Richard McSpadden. Join me on this exciting journey of exploring high-risk, high-performing flight operations where pilots and crews push themselves and their aircraft to the edge of performance and do it safely. In this episode, I'm visiting Dauntless Air at their annual training exercise in Cleburne, Texas, to explore the firefighting mission in the astonishing Fireboss aircraft.
You know, I've been flying air tractors of different types since the early 90s, and they're amazing machine with the missions that they can do, the amount of work that they can put out, and it's always challenging me. Even after 20 years in the fire business, I'm still challenged by it to fly it correctly. My name is Jess Weaver. I'm the Chief Pilot Director of Operations for Dauntless Air. For Richard, we're just going to do a standard 2-ship flight with him. We're going to go out, we're going to identify a scoop area and a target, and then we're going to simulate a fire as a 2-ship, and I'll probably let him get a little stick time too.
We're headed straight for our target area. It's a big island in the middle of the southern part of the lake here. That's going to be our simulated fire. So we're going to go take a spin around that, and then we're going to pick a scoop area, survey that, and I'll go ahead and do our in-flight scoop check now.
Just in front of the main wheel there, that stainless steel pipe you see is a probe.
Okay.
It rotates down. It connects to a pipe system that runs through this float, up this rear strut, and into the tank. And it gradually increases to a 4-inch pipe where it enters the hopper. During a scoop operation, running about 65 knots on the water, it builds about 80 psi in that 4-inch pipe, and we're able to fill the tank in about 15 seconds.
So the pressure all comes from the speed on the water?
Speed on the water.
Okay,
There's no
and that's
pump
enough,
or anything.
Yeah, that's enough pressure to push it all the way up into the hopper.
There's some what we call platypus valves in the hopper that open and close as the water as water starts flowing through them, and that keeps the water from draining back out through the system.
Okay. You just added 6,500 pounds of weight.
Correct.
Right? Because water's 8 pounds,
8.3 pounds.
8.3 pounds a gallon. Okay, and it holds 800 gallons. So now you're substantially. What's the max gross weight on it?
16,000 pounds.
16,000.
Max gross weight.
Okay. So now you're coming up, and as we talked about, you're going to go over the fire, and if it's needed, at your max drop rate, you're going to drop all of that within a second or two?
About 1.6 seconds at a max coverage level, and the whole load's gone.
Okay.
So you're getting rid of 6,400 pounds in
less than 2 seconds.
Yes.
A second and a half, you're going to drop 6,500 pounds.
Correct.
And thus the gross weight change where you talked about, the only way to do that is at 60 feet, stick full forward as you're dropping that
all
weight.
the way, and adding power.
And then as it comes off, now you got to modulate the stick back a little bit,
Correct.
and, right in there.
Right.
Yeah. And there's just obviously some finesse in doing
Right. And the veteran pilots you can't even tell. It's just the plane just stays straight and level as it's going, over the fire. And the newbies you'll tend to see a little wobble.
Yeah, like so much in aviation, now I get to look at videos, and when I see these things operate, and look for that.
Yeah.
Before you just thought it was cool. It came by and dropped a lot of water. Now we can get a sense for what it takes to do that on such a smooth looking platform.
The other thing is picking up that 6,400 pounds in 15 seconds, because there's a lot of dynamics going on there too. You have the airplane becomes a boat, and the boat has to be trimmed correctly not to develop a porpoise. If the porpoise sets up even a little bit, the water coming in starts to slosh. It makes it even worse.
Yeah. Now you're really getting a PI.
So there's a ballet going on during the scoop also.
Yeah.
Lead is prop forward, 4 blue lights for a water landing. Gate is armed, heat up pressure check. 2's prop forward, handle up 4 blue for water landing. Gate's armed, heat up pressure check. This will be our simulated fire.
Okay.
I don't see a terrible lot of birds. I see a few, so we'll be heads up for them. I'm looking for anything, floating breeze, boats. Obviously, there's nothing out here, but we want to check anyway, just so we don't get a surprise.
We're going to be looking for boaters, logs in the water, debris, other traffic, aircraft traffic in the air, any hazards, wires, towers, just everything that we can possibly think of that may impact our circuit to and from the fire.
So that part of it's pretty typical for any seaplane pilot. That's the kind of
Correct.
thing you're looking for if you're flying if you're
Correct.
flying that 185 on floats, right?
Correct.
Same kind of
Same
survey.
same thing.
Yeah.
And we'll do this together, and we'll agree on it together.
All right, coming left, come back around, scoop. It all looks good to me. Do you concur? Sure agrees.
We're going to keep the aircraft moving, pretty much as quick as we can.
Okay.
'Cause the idea is to get as many circuits, scoops in on any given
Shoes
flight
off
as
the drive.
possible.
Yeah.
I'm going to beam the area I want to go to, and I'll let my turn kill the energy.
Very nice.
We'll come in right over the shoreline here. And the idea is to put it down, a short lake, you want to put down fairly close to the shore.
Okay.
Usually right before I touch down, I get a little aft elevator trim.
Okay.
Okay, touch down, ropes coming out, power coming up. Throttle's coming up, load's coming in.
Check engine power.
Okay, she's loaded. Probes came up. Check my power. Accelerate 70, roll the float, let her fly away. We don't want to over rotate right there. We want to let her fly away on her own.
Okay.
Don't want to stall coming off the water.
All right.
I'll let you ride with me through a drop right here.
Okay.
Set it covers level 2 and try to follow this shoreline best I can. Load's coming on.
Probably what, 300-400 feet AGL here on base?
Or less. We're probably 200.
Okay. I see you slowing down to 100. Come the flaps.
Little trim right before touchdown. Power's coming back. Okay, we're on the water. Probe's coming out.
Jess's ability to maneuver the monstrous fireboss so effectively and put it exactly where he wanted it at the speed he needed was clearly a result of his experience and his ongoing commitment to excellence.
Okay, probes are up. We'll roll the float. There she's off. Away we go. See, as you can see, this thing can handle, this is pretty typical for us on a given fire day.
Yeah.
Handles a pretty good bit of water, rough water.
Yeah, it was pretty rough, which I thought it would be just given the conditions, but you're saying these are about perfect conditions. Yeah, just stick pretty far aft on that.
Yeah.
As you're in the water.
Well, in these conditions, I do want to make sure I don't dig a float into the water.
Yeah.
Okay, load coming off.
And now right back again, and this is oftentimes the scenario when you're on site. You get
Correct, it
water
is.
this close.
Yeah, if we actually had a fire this close to a lake, which does happen, we could actually do 40 plus loads in a fuel cycle. All right, do you think you want to try one?
Yeah, I'd love to try one, Jess.
Okay. Okay, it's your airplane.
Okay, my airplane.
I've got 500 gallons set on the scoop quantity for you.
Okay. And how much flaps do you,
20.
So
And you can see that out there on the wing.
is that
Keep
about
going. Now keep going. A little more.
a little more? Okay.
20. Right
Okay.
there.
We got flaps in, we got the gears up.
If you want to get stabilized on the water, put it out, and slowly bring the power up smoothly
Okay.
as you're doing that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, let's hold this attitude right here. Let the speed lead off.
Okay.
A little more aft, right in there. Okay, perfect. Oh, there we go.
Damn it.
Okay, let's get rid of the load.
Okay. Your airplane.
During training, we call the probes, the button is on the stick, and we call that the rodeo button, because it takes a long time for people to learn how to calm that porpoise down, because once that water starts sloshing, by the time you feel it and correct for it, it's already moving the other way. So you're 180 degrees out of sync with it, and that takes a while for people to learn.
Now you can see why it takes us so long to train a pilot to do this.
Now, what'd I do there, Jess?
There's a whole lot of things.
Okay.
We'll have to debrief that one on the ground.
Okay.
All right.
And we can teach you to scoop water in about 10 hours. We could take you and have you safely scooping water in the airplane in 10 hours. But to really get proficient at it, it takes thousands of scoops, hundreds of hours before people get really, really good at it. He obviously took the controls and attempted to do a scoop. And of course, you probably saw it, the porpoising setup and yeah. So he asked the question, what did I do wrong? And I was like, well, we'll have to debrief that, because
He said, too much to tell you right now.
So Steve, as being one of the most experienced fireboss instructors in the world and one of probably the best, did you have any thoughts for him?
Probably too slow.
Too slow. Okay.
He was too slow, too far checked back. You check back and then you release that back pressure a little bit, and then power didn't come in as quickly as it should have. So it allowed that slowdown, that too far check back. It just allowed that porpoise to set up immediately.
Okay, that's what I was worried about. Was I didn't want to overtemp the engine, so I know you don't usually go full power in these airplanes. So I was trying to walk the power up. It sounds like maybe not in time and not enough.
Right.
And then I felt it porpoising, and I was trying to stay out of it by keeping the stick aft.
That's making it worse.
And I was making it just too far aft.
Right.
And so now we're really starting to dig in, and that's when you say, okay, enough.
Yeah.
Drop it.
Normally when we're instructing as you get further, when that happens, that's when we sometimes tell people to just do this. That doesn't do anything, but it keeps you from doing something wrong.
I could definitely see how this is really a feel thing.
It is.
And I didn't have the feel for that.
Right, and over time, the power coming in, you learn how to slowly move it up. You're listening for it, and you've got the feel for it coming up. But that takes time.
There's a lot to train for, for somebody to do this job. They got to wear this airplane, and they have to fight fire with it.
Just the flying of the airplane itself, then flying it on the water with all the stuff we were working with. And now you're in limited visibility, turbulence operations, fire on the ground, a lot of radio communication. And then you're part of a formation, a part of a bigger effort going on. It's complex. I can see why you require the experience levels you do.
To fly this Fireboss aircraft for Dauntless, what are the basics?
The basics only have to have 1,500 hours, but within that 1,500 hours, you need 200 hours of low level, 100 hours of that being Part 137 agricultural application. You need 200 hours of mountain time, 100 hours of seaplane time. So I never find anybody that's got all that stuff that only has 1,500 hours.
Yeah, because you were telling me your youngest time pilot that you've hired is 2,200 hours.
2,200.
Yeah.
Before that, it had been 3,500, and typically it's somebody who's got 4,000 to 6,000 hours when they come to us, or even more.
Yeah, what a fun, cool mission. At the same time, fun. It's challenging. It takes a really high level of skill and mental complexity to be part of a whole operation, and meaningful. You're saving resources, saving lives. Pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it's addicting. I enjoy it.
I can see why you guys get so attracted to it.
I guess the most surprising thing to me was how rough the water was when we first got on it, how much you're being bounced around there, and you know, for these guys, they like it. That's optimum, I guess.
Pretty much, it makes
Yeah.
makes it easy. If we want to scoop a short lake, it's ideal to have it choppy like that, so that we can fill the tank and immediately leave the water. So
Yeah, yeah. And then the other thing I would say is, to me, the surprising thing was just flying out and back and then maneuvering it, you know, without doing the scooping and dropping, is how smooth the airplane felt. It really maneuvers nicely, actually, with these big floats on it and
Right.
everything. It really is.
You
It
really
handles
can't tell
nicely.
they're there, other
really
than the
can't.
fact that it slows the airplane down compared to a wheeled 802.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that surprised me, just how well it maneuvers like that.
It's very
Because you
maneuverable.
look at it and you think, wow, this is going to kind of be, you know, kind of clunky. and-
clunky airplane. No,
Yeah.
it's not. It's
No,
light
it's
on the
not.
controls and
Yeah, really
very,
is.
very maneuverable.
Yeah, there's a lot of control movement.
Right.
But the movement and the response to it is, you know, I always say that, to me, an honest flying airplane is when you put in the controls and you get what you expect. And that's what happens here. It just, you know, much more smoother than I thought.
Right.
Yeah.
It does require anticipation on the rudder. you
Yeah.
know, it's a
Yeah.
it's definitely a stick and rudder airplane. And
Yeah. Yeah. Which is part of the reason why the pilots love it, I'm
right.
sure.
They have to fly it. No autopilots. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. A lot of fun flying.
Reflecting on this epic experience in the Fireboss and thinking about what I learned to help us improve our flying in general aviation. First, I was impressed by the strong fundamentals in Dauntless pilots. Basics in stick and rudder maneuvering and a commitment to exacting standards to put the airplane exactly where they want it at the speed they want it. Elite performance begins with strong execution of the fundamentals, and Dauntless works hard at this. I appreciated that they are exceptional pilots, but humble. They didn't consider themselves above simple tools like challenge and response calls for confirmation between each other and checklists. Elite performers eliminate small mistakes by leveraging simple tools consistently, and they're not embarrassed by these simple tools. Their debriefs were specific, detailed, and candid, so there was no misunderstanding about where mistakes were made and the proper corrections. A tenet of elite performance is setting high standards and holding yourself and your team accountable to those standards, and Dauntless does that with their debriefs. And finally, it's just a reinforcement, the whole experience to me, of the value of developing a feel for the airplane. We speak so much about trusting our instruments, and that's all valid, but it doesn't displace the skill and the importance in developing a feel for the airplane and understanding what it's communicating to you through sounds and flight control forces.